everyone, and welcome to another episode of Glitter and Girls Talk on YouTube. Today's episode is very special for me. We are going to be discussing overcoming, what it means to be an overcomer, what it means to overcome adversity, trials. And today I have two overcomers on the show with me today, Miss Thawan and Miss Michelle. Please give them a big, huge welcome. And also, if you have not subscribed, please be sure to do so. Hit the like button. And also, if you want notifications of when new videos come up, please hit the bell button. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Thawan so that she may introduce herself, and then Michelle can do the same.
Hi, I am Evangelist Thawan Lewis. I am affiliated with DVD, Divine by Design Mentoring Company, because I am one of the mentors.
Yay!
Yes. I met the CEO, Ebony. It was such a blessing. We were actually working together for another organization, and it's just been a blessing.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hey, Michelle.
So I'm Michelle. I also met Miss Ebony because we worked together.
Yes. Divine connections. Divine connections.
But so I'm actually connected with her because I just love what she does. So I said to her, by all means, just lean on me whenever you need me.
Yes. Such a blessing to have you both in my space. I think today's episode will be extremely helpful for those who are finding themselves stuck, not sure how to overcome obstacles and really get past them. I think our lives are full of obstacles. I mean, what would life be if we had no obstacles, right? But some of us, we have huge obstacles that we truly have to figure out, how do we overcome? And to overcome means that you have faced something difficult and gotten past it. And to be an overcomer means that you have taken your trials, you have taken adversity, and you have been able to jump over it, get over it, and move past it, right? Right? So the reason for this one is because last weekend I graduated with my master's. Yay! My master's in management. And my educational journey has been one of overcoming. I mean, I was kicked out at 16. And so at 16, when you're trying to survive, that means education isn't at the forefront. That's not here, surviving, and where you're going to sleep, where you're going to eat, how is this going to happen, how is this going to happen. That's at the forefront of your mind. However, I always say that my life is a true reflection that God is a redeemer. And no matter how off course you get, you'll always end up where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be, if you allow God to put you with, where you kind of pretty much left off, And I think a lot of people also struggle with the fact that when they make mistakes and it feels that they've gotten off course, they kind of struggle with believing that God can put you back where you need to be. Or, we struggle with, well, this person's further along than I am, or how am I ever supposed to get here? I'm this age and things like that. So I want to pretty much get the conversation started at, let me see, 10 years ago, because Gabby will be 10 next week, actually. 10 years ago, I made a decision to get my GED pregnant with Gabby. So that was 2010. I gave birth to her. 2 weeks after getting the letter that I passed, I started college and got my associates and bachelor's in psychology, because I love studying behavior. Yes. And then I finished 2020 out with my master's. I do plan on continuing with my PhD just because why not? Why not? The sky's the limit. So just even in my educational journey, a lot of people judge when you say you have a GED, not knowing what your story may have been. I have sat on jobs, ladies, where I've heard people badmouth people with GEDs, and you kind of just sit there like, wow, you have no idea, what caused that person to have to get a GED, or what caused that person to, have to go that route versus the traditional high school diploma walking across the stage. Not all of us was blessed with a smooth sailing teenage years, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you guys to share your stories of overcoming. I know you both are definitely overcomers, definitely inspirations, and I'm ready to hear. I'm ready to hear your stories.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm gonna go
Thank
first.
you. Yeah, whoever.
Actually, I have I have many stories of overcoming. I mean, my life within itself that's my life. But
Yeah.
I do have a few major overcoming events in my life that I think was really life changers. The fact that I was on drugs for so many years. I mean, like when you started using, it starts out as a fun thing and a party thing, but when it progresses to addiction, to where it affects your way of life and things of that nature, it's really a problem. But I was on drugs for many years, so many I can't even really remember, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember using and not want me used. But if you didn't know me, and if you was on the outside looking, you would think, oh, she like that. But that may not be the case. That's something that I want people to actually know. Just because you see somebody continuing to use, that don't necessarily mean they want to. They may not know how to get out.
Yeah, and I think people don't realize how addiction really is. I think Michelle, I think you were just doing something on whether addiction is a choice or,
yes.
Yeah.
We have a group. I have a group project that we're doing, and our topic is about substance abuse, and our back and forth is, well, is it a disease or is it a choice? And it's just, I mean, you may start out so I had to sway my group basically, like, listen, you're gonna listen to me.
Yeah.
Research says, but and I can only do it based on research because I haven't been around anyone who has really truly experienced addiction, but just what I know, and then just the lot of reading that I've been doing. And so we came to the conclusion that I'm right, y'all are wrong. It's not a
right.
Right. Chooses to continue to go through the things that what addiction puts you through. So
yeah,
a lot, because it can really, when it gets bad, it affects every area of your life. Yeah. I can remember times going in drug programs or like outpatient, and even went to an inpatient one time and didn't stay there long. But to be honest, my journey, it wasn't until God said one day to me, I'm telling you, after praying and, just getting sick and tired, actually, and even in my drug use, it had got to the point where I was using, but I'm still reading my Bible. I'm still going to church. I'm trying to find a way out, right?
Yeah.
And one day I went to this service, and the man called. He said, "Hey, you in the black shirt back there?" I'm looking around. So many of us sitting there with black shirts. Look, he can't possibly be talking to me. This man don't know me. And then eventually he said, "Yeah, you come here for a minute." And he told me, he said, "The thing that you've been praying about, God said it's over." And he laid hands on me.
Wow.
And I don't know, I just went out, but from that day forward, I have been free. I'm talking about something, y'all, that had such a hold on me. I had used so long, I had became a functional addict. I had this group of friends, and I had this group of people, because everybody who I was with was no longer using no more. They was clean. So when I wanted to do that, I had to find somebody else. But I can truly say, through deliverance from God from that, and from God blessing me to overcome that, was a game changer in my life.
Yeah.
Because that was like a stronghold that kept me stagnant for years.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
crazy how it seems like the things that we go through are the very things that almost try to take you out. Like it'll try to take your purpose out. But all in all, once you really look back, you're like, God's hand was on me, even leading me through that. And
Yes.
I go through so much that sometimes, because I even get in this place where like, Lord, it's too much. Where do I get a break? However, you know, but when you look back, it's like, well, how could I sit here and do this without all the many testimonies, without all the stories of overcoming? How can I show someone that this is absolutely possible? Look where I sit today.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So even in my educational journey, I would just say, keep pushing, keep going, no matter where you stop. You know what I mean? Keep going, keep pushing. That's amazing. Michelle, I know you have. So I think we all have 1,000 stories.
Yes. They've been good.
Well, definitely, you know, in just speaking on the terms of education, you know, so I graduated from high school, and then instantly I went into college. But you know, I'm a young mom.
Mm-hmm.
I had my first kid. I'm in high school, so I'm a young mom. I'm going into college. I got this full-time job because I got it through the work release program through school, and I couldn't maintain. I'm like, I don't know how to balance being this mom. Mm-hmm. I now have my own apartment and going to school. Like, what in the world? So I've honestly, over the years, I have gone to school and I've stopped school multiple times. Mm-hmm. Because it's just like, I can't do this. I can't. And but in my heart of hearts, I've always known like this is a goal that I want to accomplish.
Yes.
I'm walking across somebody's college stage.
Hallelujah.
I don't care whose it is. You guys are going to sit here and watch me come across somebody's stage a second time and a third time. So I'm in college now.
Yeah.
Next year. And it's funny because I'm in school for early childhood education. Mm-hmm. Who would have ever thought? Not because, right. and I'm enjoying it. Mm-hmm. All the times that I've gone, it's always been for business. But I would never focus. I would procrastinate. I'm telling you, I've never failed classes in school. For me to fail I'm like, oh my goodness, and I'm paying for it.
Right, so right.
I took a step back, and it's funny because I was telling Ebony, I said, you know, I went back because of the women that I'm around, and I think it's very important that you position yourself, you be around people who are movers and shakers, who are going to push you to be better. And when I started being around these women, and not saying none of my friends don't, you know, but they don't get on me the way that somebody else like, well, what are you doing? Like, you know, like
somebody to hold you accountable.
Right. And that was what I needed when I was debating, like, I don't know if I'm even going to do this. I don't know. Because at first I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Then I was just like, yeah, no.
And that's so funny.
It has been amazing.
Yes.
I have gotten nothing less than a B in every class that I have taken. I'm taking classes now, which is kicking my tail. But my grades has been A's and B's on every assignment and every quiz. So, I mean, it's exciting, you know. So it's like, I'm doing this, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Mom,
you know, single mom, I'm doing this.
And it's so funny that you mentioned switching your degree, because when I started with my associates, I actually started in business administration, and I was not doing well. And I'm not a person who does not do well, if that makes sense. But I wasn't doing well, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And someone was over my house, and Dr. Phil came on, and she said, I could see you doing that. And I said, me? And she said, yeah. She said, I think you should look into maybe psychology. And I said, well, I prayed. And I said, Lord, if that's route you need me to take, I'm going to call. If it's not too late to switch, then I'll switch paths. You know, I'll switch my degrees. And he called, he said, you were on your last class before you would have not been able to switch. And he switched me out and A's from there. And, you know, it's like second nature. You know what I mean? So even if you start out not knowing which way to go, if you say, God, I trust you, where should I be? You'll always end up where you're supposed to be.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I also it's important that people know that even when you're a little older, don't allow it to stop you from going back and doing what you need to do. Because I went and got my high school diploma 20 years after I was supposed to graduate.
Yes.
I was fortunate enough, and it's odd. I was talking to one of my goddaughters. She was young and had gotten pregnant. And I started saying, you better do something because your mama, you know, school about to come, you're going to have to go to school. And I can hear this voice saying, you don't even got yours. And then I looked into the EDP program, which is still in Washington, D.C., y'all, an awesome program, and got my high school diploma.
Yes. And look, and in a few, we're about to be calling her Dr. DeJuan Lewis.
Yes, and I think I was 38 then.
Yes.
I was old.
Yes, and she will be soon done with her doctorates. So very good. I mean, that's total testimony in itself. And I think oftentimes too, we have to block out the voice of limitations. You know what I mean? Because I think that we often put limits on ourselves, but if we remember that God is in us and greater is he that's in us, you know what I mean? So even when we think that, we often put a cap on ourselves, but we can't limit God for where we can go in our lives. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And Michelle, I wanted to go back a little bit because you said you had your baby in high school and you were trying to find balance. And I think it's so important that you said that because oftentimes when we have kids young, I had my son at 19, but oftentimes when we have kids young, we forget that we're still kids ourselves, honestly. And in high school, you're still trying to figure out who you want to be, how you want to become that person that you say it's still supposed to be all about you. But then here's this life that now I not only have to think for myself, but I have to think for my child as well. So how did you get to a point where, because evidently you're doing extremely well, how did you get to the point where you found that balance?
So prayer and my mother.
Yes.
I think for me, I really had to really buckle down and figure out, what is it and where is it do I want to go?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we'll read and we'll have discussion. And when I say we, I mean just the Black people as a whole. And we talk about breaking generational curses.
Yes.
Right? So I know that I said to myself, like, I have to finish high school. I made it this far. I'm going into my senior year. By the time, I grew up in West Virginia. So by the time I became a senior in the PG County area, I didn't have any classes I needed to take. Our curriculum was slightly different. So I was advanced, right? Mm-hmm. And then, so that was a no-brainer. But then I just kept saying, I have to show my kids, because along the way, I ended up having 3 more.
Mm-hmm.
They're still young. Mm-hmm. It's like I have to show them, no matter what the circumstances are, whatever you set your mind to do, you can do.
You can do it.
There's no reason why you cannot. The only thing that's stopping you is you, regardless of how many no's you may receive.
Yeah,
you have to keep pressing forward.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I just got to a place where I just said, you know what, I have to remember what I said to myself. Mm-hmm. And this is something that I really want to do. So let me, get my life in order, make sure my household is in order to where this transition won't affect, anyone. You're not going to miss me for a few hours in the evening because I'm sitting in the classroom.
Right.
in at Trinity, you know, to get this good piece of paper. So it's just all about finding your balance, and your support system matters. And then sometimes for people who don't have it, you know, even if it's waiting for a little bit, so to where you can just don't forget what you said you wanted to do.
Yeah. So going back on that, because I know me and Tawan have kind of the same testimony when it comes to earlier on, that support system that says, I'm holding you accountable no matter what. I will always say, Lord, why is it that I can be there for everyone else, but it's like God will isolate me and make it so that it's just him and I, and we figure it out together. And looking back, you know, I have an appreciation for it, because it helps me to totally depend on him in those times where it's like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, you know, I had this kid, like at 19, you know, I had this kid, I'm already out here on my own, you know, and I really, you know, you look at others and they have like huge support systems. Yeah. But it also, to me, says God trusts me with just him and I. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and I know the one, yeah, and I know it's people out here who may think the same. Like, I don't have a huge support system. What am I supposed to do when it's just me? You know what I mean? And if I had any advice, it would be to press into God. Listen, he can be whatever you need him to be when he needs you to be it. Because if he's isolating you in that manner, then it's something in you he's trying to pull out of you to show you. You know what I mean? Specifically about you, so that you're not dependent on others. Whereas others, that story may be different. They may have that support system and need that support system. And what it'll do for you and what it'll do for those who he has attached you to, you know, you guys can learn from each other. Even going back to I think, Michelle, you were saying how the women that you're around now pretty much push you and, you know, help to hold you accountable. And that just made me think that the word says we overcome by our testimonies. You know, others overcome by our testimonies. So the more we go through and the more we have testimonies, the more we're able to say those testimonies and help other people to get through. So what'll happen now, we're giving this testimony, somebody will get through, then they'll be able to give their testimony to get the next person through.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely. So it's good. I think even, I think you mentioned generational curses too. When I look back on that, so my mother, my biological mother, nor father raised me. So my grandmother did, between my grandmother and help from my aunts and uncles and different things like that. So I've never met my biological mother, never seen her, never touched her, anything like that. And people always say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Now, looking back as a teenager, you know, that breeds, it breeds a lot of unforgiveness, because you're like, what, you know, what was it about me that, you know, it breeds abandonment issues, and it just is a whole slew of things that, you know, that can breed. However, looking back in my adulthood and looking at trauma, generational curses, and putting all those things together, that was the best decision that could have been made for me, because had I not gone through those things or been raised, I couldn't sit here today. I couldn't sit here and, you know what it feels like to be that girl who has no one. You know what I mean? Yeah. I wouldn't know what it feels like to, and you know what it did for me too? It made me be the parent that I am today. Like, you couldn't pay me, you know what I mean, to abandon these kids, or, you know, even remotely come close to making them not feel loved or wanted, or, you know what I mean? And absolutely. Of course, as parents, we make mistakes. I mean, as people, we make mistakes. Nobody was perfect as Jesus, okay? Yeah. So it just, we look at these hard situations, right? And of course, we can sit angry. We're not going to understand everything that comes our way, But once you look back and you're able to look through Jesus' eyes, if you can ask God to change your perspective on it, right?
Yeah.
And you can understand, well, she wasn't, I can look back and say, well, my mother wasn't in a place to raise me. And my circumstances may have been way worse, or I may not have even made it to this point today had the story been the other way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So oh, sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
So it all worked together for your good, right?
Absolutely.
The good, the bad, but it all works together for our good. And when we in it, we can't see it.
Oh, we can't see it. Oh, God.
No, but later on, by and by, we understand, okay, why we went through that. You know what I mean? And God is now able to use us in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. Michelle, I think you were about to say something too.
And because I also, so for my biological father, I didn't know him. He was killed when I was a baby. So, and I would always say, what if? What if? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I'm just like, well, but look at me. But and you still kind of say it sometimes, like, well, what if? But it also is one of those things where you just have to remember, like, your tests bring you to your testimony. You know what I mean?
That's good.
Absolutely.
You have to grow through what you go through.
Yeah.
Things has brought us to where we are today.
Yeah.
So even like with my daughter, when I was 5 months pregnant with her when her father was killed.
So it sounds like almost generational. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I always say, well, if only, and then I have to remember, well, look at what I have gone through, look at what I have done. So these are the things, because I see, the steps that I took. So let me just say, okay, well, you do it this way because of, so I can better tell her. So like my mom had both of her parents until they passed. So, and then it came to me, and then, with my daughter, so I'm just like, well, no, like, this is the steps you'll take, or this is how or this is so to kind of help her better navigate something that I know she, in her mind, is like, dang,
Right.
So.
And for us, for girls, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was about to say, and for girls, they always say that your dad is the first person that you ever fall in love with, right? So if you don't have that in place, because my grandmother, there was no man in the house. It was just her and I and my aunt. You know what I mean? So, where do you, when there isn't that male figure in the house that you can say, well, this is how I should mimic relationships after, right? Then you tend to look for love in, I'm going to say, all the wrong places. just based off my experience, okay?
But that can also be true for those who was raised with a mother and a father, because I was fortunate enough to have my mother and my father, even though at a certain period in my life, they were divorced. And I don't know, I knew my father loved me, and he was my first love. You know what I mean? But because parenting doesn't come with a handbook. So
it don't.
Our parents did the best they could do or whatever, but I picked up a spirit of rejection along the way. That unfortunately came from one of my parents, which caused me, rejection is attached to so many
other things,
which bothered my self-esteem. You start feeling like you're not good enough, like people don't love you. So even with two parents, I found myself in a place where I'm out there looking for love.
Yeah.
And picking all the wrong people.
Oh, let me tell you something. That could be so bad. And I think, we can look back and we can laugh at it now, but you also look back like, Ebony, that was your mind, girl.
Girl.
Girl. You can laugh about it now, but Lord, you look back and you say, thank you for your grace.
Yes.
True. And let me tell you guys something that's so crazy. Even in not even physically being around my dad, he was locked up until I was 23. I physically met him at 23 years old. But let me tell you something. I was mimicking not mimicking, but the men I was dating were like reflections of him. So, it's so crazy how that happens without even being in the same space with him. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So, look, the one looked off. Yeah, it's
probably without even recognizing it. That's what I was thinking. Probably until one day, it was like, wow.
Yeah, I remember I said, oh wow. This is something how even when you're not in the same space with your parents, how generationally you can take on these things.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I think this is another reason why it's extremely important to keep right in a relationship with God, because these are things that you can see even in your children and your grandchildren. You're able to recognize these things and be that generational curse breaker, be the change agent, so that we can avoid them going through the very things that we went through, if possible. But I think we also got to remember too that there are going to be certain things that they have to go through, because just like us, it's going to build testimony. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So
absolutely.
That's so true.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard because you're like, no, don't make this mistake, don't go left, go right. But sometimes, just like with us, we had to go left in order to get right. We had to.
I think, like, even for me now, like, I'm with my second son, I'm like, boy, no, like, she's not it.
Yeah.
Now but then I had to say, it's for you to figure this out at this point, because I've told you, because I'm right, because I'm your mom.
Right. We always right, girl.
Yes.
Listen to me. But then it's just, so let me just go ahead, and I've said my piece. I've said to you how I genuinely feel and why. I didn't say it, and then I gave him a why, and then now it's up to you to see it for yourself.
Yeah.
But it's just like, dang, how long I got a week?
Yes. When you saying, look, I done told you this, you still going this way, so now you're going to have to kind of run into that brick wall.
Yeah.
But I'll be here to put the Band-Aid on your head. Once you hit that brick wall. But it's still
kind of hard to watch sometimes.
Hard to watch.
You love. I mean, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's doing anything crazy. It's just with like the relationship that he is choosing to keep. So it's not even like he's not way left. And one thing I can say, like, I've been truly blessed. Like, thank God, and I thank God so much that my kids genuinely have good heads on their shoulders. They do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm not a young grandmother. And made it very clear to them that I better not be one. I don't care that the older boys are grown, but because we still. I have a 7-year-old, and I just need time. And we'll see. We're not going there. So it's just, just making sure it's like, this is what I see for you, and this is what I want you to do, and this is what I know you are capable of. And I think that's the biggest thing. But like you said, just kind of got to let them go through it, and then they'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll get it. It's some of us, me included, because I can be very hard-headed at times. Why, I don't know. Then I talk about Gabby and be like, you're so hard-headed. Then I got to sit back and say, well, she is her mother's child. But and it seems like, oh my God, I took myself the long way, or I took the hard route. However, it still builds character. It builds faith. You know what I mean? So even in our mistakes, even in our mistakes, we are still being built from the inside out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's, you know, when the scripture says, you know, all things work together for our good. I mean,
Yeah.
even down to huge mistakes I made. I mean, big
Yes.
mistakes. I look back now and I say, well, Dad, I had to get in that place so that I could appreciate this. Or I had to get in that place so that I would learn how to do this. Even, okay, example, even in this season that we're in with COVID and things like that, and so many people losing jobs, you got so many people passing. I mean, it looks really bad, but this is no better time than to hone into God. Really seek Him on your purpose. Seek Him on where you should be going. Seek Him on what's next for you. Because this is literally the best time to put on your faith shoes. Listen, you hear me? Put on your faith shoes, okay, and step out into your purpose, because there's so much going on. This, you know, so many people are going to be needing help. I mean, it's inevitable. It's so much going on mental health wise. So many of us have went through so many changes, losing jobs, or for me, look, mentally, becoming a homeschool teacher. With my 9-year-old is like, help me, Lord. Like, I could teach about life, but you sit me here and say, Mommy, teach me about math, and I'm looking like, where's your brother?
Right.
Like, girl, you better get on that good Google.
Girl, listen, I'm like, listen, you could give me any other subject. Math is not it for me, okay? I just want to count my money and pay my bills. Count my checks. That's all I want to do.
Right. I just know what numbers is supposed to look like.
That's about as far as you're going to get with me. But I just think that even when it looks dark, because right now, if we're on the inside looking out into all that's going on in our world right now with the racism, and it's not like racism is new, you know, it's not new, but we have social media, so it's being blasted. At this point, you had the kids who went through huge changes, because some of them, school was the safe haven.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
School was the safe haven, and now they're home in these environments 24/7 with no outlet. It's no break. So I think prayer is needed more than ever. Just right standing relationship with God is needed more than ever. And getting to know who you were made to be, because God says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And everyone who's here is here with a purpose. You have a purpose that only you can fulfill. Like, it's literally only one Ebony that can do what I do.
Yes.
I'm in God that I still got purpose here. I still have tests to go through to build more testimonies in order to help more people overcome.
Yes.
Right? So I think if you guys had one piece of advice that you were able to give those watching or those who may be in similar situations, and I know we didn't even touch on half of the testimonies that we all have. I know we did educational. For me, we did overcoming drug use for Dewan, and then Michelle, we did overcoming teen pregnancy, a great loss to become now a single mom, and just finding purpose in the midst of all of that. So if you guys had to give advice, what would you say?
The main thing, and I say this all the time, I don't care how many times you mess up. I don't care how long it takes, long as you do not give up.
Yes.
That's what don't give up. Mess up, brush yourself off, get yourself together, and start back on the journey again.
Yes.
Definitely agree. So for me, mine would be, just continue to press forward. No one can tell you no, because as many no's as you receive, there's a yes in there somewhere.
Somebody.
So press forward. Do not let anyone take your dreams nor your joy away from you. Just keep moving forward. And
dream snatchers.
Right, right.
You know, it's like one day you'll just wake up and be like, okay, God.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Looking around like, I prayed for this.
Yeah.
This is what I prayed for.
That's literally how I've been waking up recently. Just like, oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
So, you know,
Yes.
just definitely, no matter what you go through, everyone goes through something. But, you know, like you said, Ebony, everyone has a purpose.
Mhm.
And you just have to find that purpose. And whatever that purpose is, you know, you were put here to fulfill that purpose.
Yes.
Have something in you to give to the world, and
Yes.
you are doing a disservice to the world if you're not sharing that purpose. So definitely just keep pressing forward.
Mhm.
Can I say
Sure.
one more thing? Because I forgot, and this the most important part is that you ladies have already said it. I believe we said it throughout, you know, throughout this conversation, but
Mhm.
keep God first.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You gotta be in it.
Mhm.
You gotta
You
be
gotta
in it.
be in it.
Because when you find yourself going left, he'll say, go right, go right.
Mhm.
When you feel like you can't make it, he'll give you the strength and build you up.
Yes.
You know, even if it's like the girlfriend called and say, okay, go on. You know, you
Yep.
like, yeah.
You guys know that I love my tattoos, right? And I don't know if you could see it, but I went recently and got failure is never an option. Never. It is never an option.
Never.
And with God, you won't fail. I mean, I don't know if you could tell me one time God has failed. So with that being said, if God is in me and I'm trusting him, I've gotten to the point that this is my main prayer. God, if you have gone before me, I don't want it unless you have gone before me in this situation, whether it's job, no matter what it is, because if he's gone before me, then that means that he's made crooked places straight. You know, even when it looks crazy, the path will still get straight again. So that has become my prayer when opportunities come, jobs come, no matter what it is God, if you haven't gone before me, I don't want it. I don't want it. I mean, because I don't have time to waste. And just going back to testimonies, right? Going back to testimonies and purpose and those behind us, it is someone who is waiting for you to get it together, tell your story so that they can get through what you're going through. There is someone waiting. So just like you said, Michelle, if you don't get yourself together or if you become afraid to tell your story, it's somebody who's specifically waiting on you to hear your voice. To hear your testimony so that thing can break off them. Just like that.
Yes.
So ladies, I just want to say thank you so much for being on Glitter and Girl Talk today. I know that we'll be able to reach many people. I know that you guys, I'm labeling you as overcomers. God has already said that you're an overcomer. And I just want to thank you so much for being on today and having Girl Talk.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies, and you guys.
Thank you.
Yes. See you on the next
episode. Day, ladies.
Yes. See you guys on the next episode of Glitter and Girl Talk.
Yeah.